I wonder if, like me, you often receive gift cards. These are some gift cards from Christmas that I've got left over that I probably should have spent by now. And I enjoy receiving gift cards because what they allow me to do is to spend money on something that I wouldn't usually get the chance to, something that feels slightly indulgent, a one-off experience or a one-off gift that I might really enjoy. I want you to consider for a moment what it would be like if you got paid your wage, got paid your pension exclusively in gift cards. Suddenly something that would ordinarily feel liberating would become incredibly restrictive. And not only that, if you got paid exclusively in gift cards, but that you didn't even get to choose which shops, which outlets those gift cards would be for. Now, I love getting gift cards for my PlayStation, but if I exclusively got paid in PlayStation gift cards, that would not help me buy my groceries. That would not help me pay my bills. I suddenly wouldn't be able to do anything that helps me function and thrive as a human for the long term. I would have an awful lot of money that I could only spend on something that's ultimately useless. And yet, sometimes that is how we've approached international development. A huge amount of development and aid funding in low-income countries is still incredibly project-based. And what that means is that often international funders will offer funding to local partners, but only if they spend it on project costs. And the situation this creates is that often local partners, like the ones that All We Can have money for solar panels, but don't have any money to pay their staff. They might have money to set up a new agricultural project, but they don't have money to buy a head office, to actually have somewhere to operate out of. So that's something that at All We Can we're really passionate about unrestricted funding as well as project funding. Because what we want to do is create really sustainable local organisations who can tackle injustice and poverty in their communities for the long run. And the only way that they can do that for the long run is if they are thriving as organisations, not just as organisations who can run the occasional project. And that's why during Lent we're really passionate about regular giving. That actually regular giving is something that lends itself to unrestricted and long-term funding, to funding that helps support the capacity of our local partners to be justice-seeking organisations in their contexts for the long run, not just on these short project cycles that might produce some good for the short term, but don't produce sustainable change. And that's one of the reasons we'd really love for you to consider becoming a regular giver to All We Can. But it's also something to consider in our local churches, in our local contexts. Do we sometimes have a project mindset, a gift card mindset, where we might run something for a short-term period, for a year or 2 years, and then move on to the next thing, where we have energy and enthusiasm for things in the short term and for individual projects, but not for a real embeddedness for the long term in our communities? These are the questions we want to consider throughout Lent. But for now, I'm going to go and spend these.